Hello, hi Christchurch family. We've had a children's ministry vision evening, and I know not everyone was able to make it, so I wanted to give you a quick whistle-stop tour of what we talked about so that you can have a bit of insight on where the children's ministry is going in September. There's some Bible passages that we looked at, and the first one that we looked at was Matthew 18. It's all about how in order to enter the kingdom of heaven, we can become like little children. So we had a discussion about what are little children like? What might a child wonder when they're at Christchurch and when they arrive for the first time, or if they've been part of Christchurch family, we're trying to see things through their eyes. So I'm sure that you can think of a list of things that children are like, and they might have a lot of fresh ideas. They might be more spontaneous than we are. And so we wanted to take a pinch of what a child is like when we talk about children's ministry at Christchurch, that we wanted to have that fresh approach so that children will be able to engage with it. As we've grown up, we might have forgotten some of that playfulness that we used to have when we were kids. So it's about reawakening that as we look at the children's ministry at Christchurch for September. Then I went on to talk about how the sense of wonder is something that we would love to tap into more of at Christchurch, so that whatever age the child is, they will be able to see the wonder and amazement of the Bible, of who God is, and discover that truth for themselves. So it will be all about encouraging children to embrace their own spirituality, by using their creativity, their imagination, by using their natural responses, rather than us telling them what to do in faith. The other passage that I wanted to hang our children's ministry on this year is the story of Samuel and Eli. When Samuel hears from God, we can see that children can hear from God in their own way, can see from this story that children are capable of spiritual belief and understanding themselves. So it's not about us teaching them how to do faith, but it's about us tapping into their awareness of God. So I wonder, in September, where are we making space for children to engage with God and for children to join in with God's mission and be a part of what God has for us in Bedford as a whole church, but also what God has to say to each child in our church community as well. Then David spoke a bit about how our children's ministry can fit into the whole church vision. And I'm going to show you his video.
My name's David and I am the vicar of Christchurch, and I've been here a year now, which is amazing, and what a blessing it has been to me and my family. And when we arrived a year ago, there are a few things that I was told that the church was looking for, and I was told that what was important to the church. And so the first thing I was told was that the church was at a period where change was needed. And so one of the things that I was coming to do was to help with the bringing of that change. And the second thing was how important to everyone, children, young people and family is. It was really central to everything about Christchurch. And so with these two things in mind, we have got some changes that are going to be coming up and beginning in September of this year. So the first thing is about family. So for me, being a follower of Christ means that I join in with a family, and that family is made up of all sorts of different people. So when we gather on a Sunday at our 10:30 service now, we are all going to be gathering together. So the children and the youth, they are going to be in at the beginning of the service when we start at 10:30 a.m. And then they are going to go out to their groups and have a great time. And Ruth is going to tell you some more about that. And then I also believe that we are the body of Christ. And so everyone is going to come back together for us to share in Holy Communion on those Sundays, where second and fourth Sundays when we share communion at our 10:30 service. And so the amount of time now that our children and young people spend out in their groups is going to shrink a little bit. It's going to be about 30 minutes long now. But what I'm hoping is that we're going to get a much more sense of us all together as family. And the third change that is going to happen is that we are now all going to be looking at the same teaching ideas. So, for example, whatever it is that we're looking at in our main Sunday service, so at the moment we've been thinking about the mission of God, and we've been discussing that in Big Church. The children and the youth, they will also be looking at a similar thing. And my reasoning behind this is so that when we go home after church, we can have conversations, whether at the dining table or in front of the TV or whilst we're going for a walk, whatever it might be, and we can all talk about the same subject, as opposed to what happens in my family. I go, what did you guys do at church today? And my son usually tells me that he made a crown, and that's about all I can get out of him. Whereas now I'll be able to say, well, Daddy was talking about the mission of God. Oh, what were you talking about? The mission of God. So that is what is going to be happening come September of this year. And I'm really excited for how this is going to help us to grow together as the family of Christ here at Christ Church, Bedford.
Having heard David's plans for the children's groups to fit into the adults' topics, and we just have some practical things that we talked through about how we were going to adapt to that in September. We're going to split our groups into 3 called Imagine, Marvel and Wonder. So those are going to be our 3 groups, and it's going to split at the age of 3 and 7. So we'll be able to make our 0s to 3s a lot more focused towards their needs, so that we can create an environment where they can feel safe. This might seem a bit different to what we've been doing before, because we've had a real sense of community in our Diddy Disciples group. We don't want to lose that, and we're really hoping that by engaging the children more in the church service with the adults, they'll be able to really feel a sense of community with the whole church. And when they get to do the engage part, they'll be able to be with other children that see things from their perspective. One thing to note is that the age groups are not split on academic ability. It's not about any IQ levels or things like that. It's purely to make children feel more comfortable with those who they are around. Each of these names are a reflection on part of the background to what we want our children's groups on Sundays to be about, but we will have to go through and adapt our resources to match with what the adult themes are going to be doing. We didn't go through what curriculums we're going to use. So if you're interested in choosing curriculums, then get in touch with me. And if you're interested in being on the team, but you're not interested in choosing curriculums, then there will also be the chance for you to sign up to be involved in September. If you've got any questions about what we've talked about and why we've decided to go down this route, then I can share more resources with you. As there's lots of good books on these kind of topics.